Welcome everybody again. This is episode 3 of the podcast. Right now our name is Boss Up with Mr. Key, but hey, that might change. But right now we want to talk to everybody who's out there that is trying to boss up their life. And my next guest is a good friend of mine, man. I met this brother probably earlier this year, and we've been hanging out. And one thing I noticed is when he moves through the room, people gravitate to him. And, you know, I'm like, okay, that's a sign of a good entrepreneur. When people like you, people respect you, and people just want to hear what you have to say. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest, Burrell Allen, here on the show. What's up, B? How you doing?
Man, I'm great. Thanks, Trey, for having me.
Hey, no worries, man. Hey, again, like I said, I like the way you move, man. You always keep it cool, and then, like I said, man, it's just certain people have it. You either have it or you don't, you know? And
I appreciate that, man.
And in the business, when you're selling yourself, no matter what you do, if you have a product or whatever, I'm a firm believer of you selling you.
Absolutely.
And when you have to sell yourself, that's a key element to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Good deal, good deal. So let's let the people know, let's take it back.
Okay.
Born and raised in Houston,
Yes,
Texas?
sir. Yeah.
All right, tell me what high school was like. Where'd you go?
Man, I went to 2 high schools. So I started off at MacArthur High School, the Aldine District, and then my last 2 years, junior, senior year, I went to Westfield in Spring. I lived out there with my aunt and uncle and cousin, basically for a better opportunity. Just, you know, born and raised in Fifth Ward, and kind of moved to Greens Point, moved to Acres Home. So I was kind of all over the bad areas on the north side, because this is what it was. Raised by my grandmother. She gave me, what she could, man. So that's kind of why that high school transition came in. It was one of the best things that, I did as a youth. Yeah.
You know what? I went through the same thing, kind of moved high schools. And I think part of that, and let me know if I'm wrong, but I think moving around help you have to reintroduce yourself to people, get acclimated to different crowds.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a skill set that's important to back to when I said, man, I see this man move around and like he can move in any room. And I think that might.
Oh, absolutely. You hit it on the head. I had a little cheat code though, because my cousin, went to that high school, but at the same time, I still kind of had to, learn and get my own set of friends. And just, of course, when you're in class and let people know where you're from, just things of that nature. So that taught me, and I didn't know that would be a valuable skill set early on that I could carry down the line.
Perfect, man. So, all right. So after high school, did you go to college? What
yeah,
was
man.
Next?
Went to Prairie View A&M University.
Oh, nice.
We call it the yard. You know what I'm saying? I was the first in my family to go to college, and it was a different experience. Because it's all black environment, but also, man, I went in with a couple guys from high school. They helped me get through it. I got on academic probation. I was about to get kicked out of that joint, but man, God is good, man. And so with that, I wouldn't change anything for the world, man. I'm proud to be a Prairie View alumnus, bro.
Man, congratulations on that. Like, tell me a little bit about being the first in your family. Was there a lot of pressure? Did you have expectations, or did it just come out of nowhere? Like, wow, you going away?
Yeah. You know what? It was induced pressure, because they didn't know what to expect. You know what I mean? But when I got there, I was like, okay, now you got to finish. You know what I'm saying? So with that, it was important because I have 2 younger sisters just to help pave the way. But it also let me know, it gave me valuable information. I kind of passed that on, and then I've had cousins and stuff to follow in that footstep, to go to college. So man, it was more, we put that pressure on us anyway. So yeah, man, but wouldn't change it, brother. Yeah, it was different.
Yeah, growing up in the inner city and just moving around, you do put pressure on yourself. You want to make sure that you can rise above, and that's good that you open the door for your younger cousins, your sisters to kind of see.
Right.
And so, man, that's a blessing to be able to start that tradition in your family, and now see it goes for generations.
Right.
So at Prairie View, what did you study?
Man, I started off as business information systems. Bro, it kicked my butt.
Man, I bet.
It just, it was damn near like an engineering course. In the process of being on academic probation, a mentor early on, Jewish guy, got to give him his flowers, Marvin Fingers. He said, hey, this summer go around to every college on campus and interview them. I ended up in the College of Agriculture.
What?
Graduated in agriculture and human resources. Never did nothing with it, bro. So yeah.
Hey, it's like that though. Sometimes you go to college and you get that, especially, some years ago when you go to college, it was just like, just get a degree. And when you get out, people will see that accomplishment.
Right.
I did the same thing. My mother was like, be an engineer. I went away to college to be an engineer. And after being on probation, like, man, this is way above my head.
Absolutely.
I had to take a step back, and so, I actually got kicked out of school. So, but I came back. It took me about 5-6 more years after that. Though. But I did it.
That's right. That's all right. Congrats, man. That's okay.
Good. So you got that under your belt. And then after that, you started working. It kind of seemed like you went back to the financial institution.
How it worked was I was in college. I was working for AT&T, so I was like in sales. And so what happened was, graduated, they offered me a full-time position, decent money and stuff. And then about 7 months in, I resigned and started a company with some friends. Essentially, we got into real estate investments. So that's kind of, and then it was kind of like going to college all over again. So, and then, that led me, but due to working with banks and developing those relationships with the financial institutions, once I got out of that, I segued into going back into that platform of working for JP Morgan and a couple other banks. So that's kind of, so I leveraged those relationships that I had previously.
So you had basically, you went to college, got out, started working, and then you took another education, pretty much got your master's of the School of Hard Knocks.
Absolutely.
I tell everybody, any education you get costs. So no matter what it is, if you're going into a new business venture or whatever it may be, it's going to cost you, just like when you went away to Prairie View. There was financial aid, but this one will probably cost you an experience, digging in your savings, trying stuff, failing, figuring out how you failed and how to succeed the next time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect way to say it. Yeah.
Good. So, all right. So you did that and you worked in that financial institution for about how many years?
Man, about 5-6 years.
About 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, man, I'm jumping around, but I want to just to kind of go back to let people know who you are. Tell me about September 16th. What date is that? Why is that important to you?
Date of birth, baby. September 1678, man. Jefferson Davis Hospital in Houston, Texas.
Man.
I never forget that. It ain't even up no more.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. They closed that show down. But yeah, that's I'm a Virgo, man. I'm not too crazy in the signs, but my own, right? So, yeah.
Okay.
And the men in my family are all September.
Really? So it's one big party in that month.
My grandfather and my uncle. It's only 3 of us. But yeah, we're all September.
Okay. Yeah, my daughter is 9/18, so like,
Oh, word.
Yeah.
My uncle's the 17. And I'm the 16th. So yeah, man.
So I know, man, 2 days before, I'll give you a call, like, what we doing?
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
A lot of what I want this show to show people is, obviously you worked 5 years in corporate America, that last position. Was there a point, obviously you tried some entrepreneurship with partners. What did that teach you about just working with partners or just kind of, being an entrepreneur?
Man, a lot. So, you dealing with various personalities, attitudes, working through, you're going to have a lot of struggle, right? Working through that, just to keep pushing, really negotiating, right?
That's key.
So you're going to negotiate with your partners before you even negotiate with anybody else, because y'all got to agree.
Yeah.
Y'all got to agree to work with whoever.
Right.
or the partner. You know what I'm saying? So that was the biggest, and just and the setback at times, and let some of your partners lead on projects and vice versa. So that was big.
That was my thing. Like when you work with partners, how do y'all identify? Because everybody can't be the main chef in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to be the bus boy. Somebody got to wash the dishes, and then that might rotate.
Right.
Did y'all establish that in the beginning, or did you just kind of bump into it and say, "Hey, we got to take a step back. It's too many chiefs in the in the tribe."
I think naturally, everybody was in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Then we stepped back to actually capitalize on each person's skill set. Right. So we had a guy that was our loan officer. Then we had a guy that was a realtor. Mm-hmm. Then I was, since kind of been in sales, a person that was, more customer facing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of working the stuff. So it was like, once we did that, our formula came together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nice. And at that point, financially, I know, like, just like any relationship, marriage or whatever, like financials is one of the biggest things that can break up a partnership.
Yeah.
Did that happen to y'all?
In a sense, a little bit. What ultimately happened to us was the economy.
Yeah.
So when the economy happened in 06, 07, with just the economy and the housing market, that forced us to close.
Yeah.
So yeah, that ultimately, yeah. But of course, we had some financial big issues at times. I worked through them, and then of course, we kind of split ways for a while because everybody's stubborn, right?
Yeah,
so
it gets like that.
It does.
And I, for a while, I was like, I've tried it. I've worked with partners, and then at some point, I'm like, I want to do it myself. But now coming full circle, I realize that you can't build a machine by yourself. It's good to bring in other people with different expertise. It's just important to have everything structured and, so that people have the expectations in the beginning.
Right.
That's funny you said that. Around that time is when I had some rental properties, and that one in particular, it was worth, I bought it for like $100,000. By the time 07 hit, it was worth $10,000. The tenant wasn't paying me.
Yeah.
I was like, I had to make a business decision and just jump off that ship.
Correct.
And let
Absolutely.
it go.
I'm with you.
Luckily, I bounced back, but man, it was a tough time. Here we go. Gather around, people. It's story time. Let's build a campfire. And here's another segment of Confession of an Austin Agent. That didn't sound, that one almost sounded kind of sexy. I'm trying to go for scary. That one sounded like I'm trying to allure Dracula's wife into the, never mind. Let me not go there. Anyway, here's another confession for you. There was one time I had a listing appointment. And I knocked on the door, came into the house, and every time I have an appointment, I survey the outside of the house. I mean, you can tell a lot about what you're about to walk into, sometimes based on the curb appeal. No to sellers, no to realtors, right? So anyway, I knock on the door, walk up, it's kind of like an episode from Will Smith. I can tell that this cab was where your home's the Bel Air, but I walked in anyway. And sat down. And when I sat down, after they took me in for a tour of the house, I sat down in the living room. There were beads hanging that kind of blocked the rest of the house. And all of a sudden, I saw this like naked kid about 2 or 3 years old shoot past the beads. And I'm like, okay, righty. And then the kid comes in and shoots through the beads with like this pamper half hanging off. And like, of course he sees me, snotty nose, half hanging off pamper. I don't know why the pamper was heavy, but let's just say I can kind of smell why. And the guy just continued to go through the listing presentation with me. Needless to say, like when the kid got closer, he saw me kind of like, shoot, okay. Hey, you got candy for this kid? Like, what are we doing here? Finally, a young lady walked in the room and, grabbed the kid. After I got to that appointment, I definitely wanted to make sure none of the residue from the pamper had rubbed up against my leg. I had some light colored pants on, but after getting some fresh air and getting out of there, like the guy actually called me back for the listing. I guess he was like, man, if this guy is strong enough to deal with this without breaking a sweat, that's who I want as my realtor. And there you have it, another confessions from an Austin agent. Let's go fast forward now, right? So tell me about your new venture.
So currently, I'm part owner of CDC Cleaning Services.
Nice.
And I own that with my business partner, Andre Jones.
Okay.
And so that's on the forefront of what we do. And then I have CMB3 Enterprises, which I go in and help with DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, right? But my main honest focus right now is CDC. We work with Austin FC Soccer Club, so we're their partner. Caritas of Austin is another partner of ours. So we work with them and some various churches around town, right? So
that's good, bro.
Yeah. But you know that's it's been a long time coming with that. You know what I'm saying? And
so you had to beat the pavement for a while before it got to where it was.
I did, and we started in the area of the COVID area, right? And then what it was I was working. I was in corporate America. Worked for when I moved out to Austin in 07. Tech was my thing too after banking. So man, you know, we started it, and you know, you just kind of had the business lingering,
right?
Like my main money over here, making good money, but then, you know, man, God has a way of showing you things, and then I was, you know, I got laid off, and then, you know, boom, it was like my wife was like, "Yo, you need to focus on this," and I'm like, "Okay." So, you know, we had no contracts. It's early on. So you got no contracts and no money, no job rather. I mean, yeah, you know, my wife or whatever, but you know what I mean? And then
back against the wall.
Absolutely. You got to come out swinging out that point.
Man, you know what? I want to give a shout out to the women out there. You my second guest, and I only had 3 shows, and 2 of them has been men. One was a woman. And each of the fellas was like, hey, my wife kind of put that battery in my back. Like, you know, it's time. Like, I see you, you know, you need to step out there and give you that push. So it's true. Sometimes God will give you a good helpmate or a good woman on your side to tell you, hey, I see this in you, and encourage you. And obviously that worked in your benefit.
It did. And, you know, my wife is not just because she's my wife, man. She's an angel, man. She's been through, she's been with me through, man. You know what I mean?
How many years do you have?
We just turned 7, married, been knowing each other for about 10, 9.5, 10. But man, you know, with the string of medical situations that I've had, man, man, she's right there. Been
there for you.
So you know, yeah, man.
Thick and thin, like it's supposed to be, man.
Absolutely.
So good, man. That's a credit to her.
Yeah.
So your plight was kind of like mine. I was working corporate America, and then I was doing a lot with real estate. I have been doing it for a while, and it was getting close to that turning point where it was like, I call it your key moments when you were just like, you know what, I need to jump ship. Right. And obviously your wife was an influence on that, but kind of what was that one moment that told you like, man, I mean, obviously they were laying you off. You probably saw the writing on the wall.
Absolutely.
But what was that key moment that made you say, hey, this is where I'm going. CDC is where it's at.
Well, we already had it, you know, LLC and all of that. Man, the key moment for me, man, is when I was working for this the startup. I had just found out I had stage 4 cancer. And I already had stage 3 in 2019. So I worked with the CEO, and ironically, this was a medical startup.
Oh, wow.
So everybody there was ex-nurses and all that. So I'm thinking, you know, I'm transparent.
Right.
So I said, hey, you know what? I want to still work. I got to go through chemo. It's, you know, I don't know how this going to turn out. They was like, yeah, cool. Man, 2 weeks later, they was like, yo. And I was like, damn. And right there, I felt, okay, what's going on, right? Back against the wall. My wife was saying, hey, go ahead and start this. I know I got to start chemo. I'm worried about insurance. And I said, man, you know what, man, just go for it. Do it again. You already put some money into this, and we got the grind. I got the marketing. I got the word of mouth. And it just, and I kept keeping my faith ultimately, bro. That was a huge turning point in my life, because I felt like they got me down right now. I'm down pretty bad, right? I don't know what the outcome's gonna be. So with that, I learned something valuable, which is don't put anything off tomorrow that you can do today. So that was what I vowed to do. Man. Real talk.
That's real, man.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, we all have the same 24 hours.
Absolutely.
I talk to a lot of people that have great ideas, but if you keep putting it off, it's just gonna be that, an idea.
Right. Absolutely.
You push forward on that.
Yeah.
Just so people can know. I talk to a lot of young people, and they're like, I'm starting this, but they don't have two red dimes, nickels to rub together.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, well, don't be afraid to work a job, because you're a business. Like you said, I need some money. Unless you're good at convincing other people to invest startup cash in you.
Correct. Right.
At some point, sometimes you got to go to work and use some of that money to pay your bills, but invest in your business and then do the business. So you're working double time.
Absolutely.
That you have years where you were like, hey, I'm working a job, then I'm getting off, I'm hustling a business.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
even
important.
with this. Yeah. Like I said, it just wasn't a lot of focus right away, because you work in that job.
Exactly.
But what happened was, by working that job, I was able to put capital aside here, and then that came in handy, because my partner and I were funding, everything up front.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, ain't nothing coming in, right?
Yeah,
so
usually don't happen.
it's just right. So that's what I'd say. Most of the time, man, you gotta work a job. You get that experience, but look at working a job as a paid training.
I like how you put that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm about to go, and I already got this in the back of my mind on my business, just know that's not for long. Just stay over, just put in a little work, and then
that's right. That's like, again, work that job with the exit strategy in mind.
Absolutely.
Even if it's like, hey, I'm going to be here for 2 years, but I'm putting away $2,000 a month towards the business.
Right.
I'm going to just keep feeding that and see where it goes.
Right.
And then at some point, it was the same thing with me, because I was like, man, I had been at my company for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And I thought okay, I'm ready to leave. I'm at that point.
Right.
But man, what I'm going to do, if they lay me off, that'll be the best scenario. So I may have hung around a little bit too long just to wait, and they laid me off.
Right.
And that was the blessing. I was like, I could get paid for about 6 or 7 months.
Right.
And hit the ground running.
But that's it though, right? I mean, that was the only, leverage you really have. And the thing, we're in Texas, so this is an at-will state. So the thing about it is you can be working for whomever, and we see it now in the news, people getting laid off, right? I always tell people, have something else if you can, going. You may not make any money right away. You may, but don't let someone else dictate and control your faith at all times, especially your financial future, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I feel like realistically nowadays, one job isn't enough to support some of the goals and aspirations you might have.
You're right.
And again, every show I always have to remind people, to have a job is not a bad thing. And if you want to have a career and retire at a place, make sure you put, your all into it, and make sure you have a strategy or a plan. Hey, I want to get here. I want to move up. I make McDonald's on my fries. I want to move burgers, register to having my own McDonald's franchise. So just have a plan. But when you entrepreneurial and you want to have your own business, you got to get the funding from somewhere. Now, I'm sure there's some people that went out there, had a mouthpiece, convinced 10 other people to give them 10 G's a piece.
Right.
But now you got to figure out how to pay those folks back.
For sure. Absolutely. Most people aren't going to have the money.
Yep.
What I'd also say to those folk is, if you don't, make sure you have good credit.
Nice. That's true.
So, they say cash is king, man, but look here, man. Because if you got good credit, then you can go get a signature loan. You can go, not because your credit worthiness.
Right.
And that payback may not be as high, right? You take out 10,000, they probably gonna hit you for, maybe $250 a month,
right?
Whatever,
less than that,
or something, right?
Minimum payment sometimes.
Absolutely, but you got a little bit of capital because the other thing is, it's just gonna be hard for you to get any type of money from a bank in your business name in the beginning because why? You have to be established,
right? You have to be seasoned, at least 2 years sometimes,
right? Yep. Absolutely, and you're like, well, how am I supposed to get along? I just started, right? So that's the other piece that you can kind of, get around that.
Yeah. Tell me about a time, B, when you were doing your business and you thought, okay, so you got laid off, you went into CDC. Was there a time when you was like, man, I don't know if this is gonna work? Like maybe I need to switch gears.
Oh, for sure, man. In the beginning, even we really, man, March of this year is when we got in gear, right? So of course, in the beginning, when we fronting everything, you're like,
right,
man, right? Then once you feel like, one thing about business is always different challenges. So we're in a people business, so we have people that work with us, right? So it was like we getting complaints or people quitting. You could be amazed, adults that don't show up.
Yeah.
So I'm there mopping floors or whatever, and so that's why I tell people I'm a janitor. My friends be like, "Man, you ain't no janitor." Mark say that. I'm a janitor because, and every time I'm mopping the floor, thank you, Jesus, for the opportunity, right? And I see people at the stadium all the time. I just see somebody at a holiday party. My boy's brother was like, I had him this shirt. He's like, "What you doing mopping floors?" I'm like, "Man, But I don't, when you a boss, you don't have to let everybody know you a boss. So when I say janitor, sometimes folk gonna tell you, "Nah, you ain't no janitor." Okay, you probably see something else in me. So those times mopping the floors and stuff, it's when times where I'm like, is this for me? Because I'm paying people that ain't showing up, right? So those are some times I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. So yeah, man.
So that's key too. Like when you start a business, you pretty much got to work every facet of that business.
Right.
I'm trying to change this narrative in my head, and so I'm focusing on it. But I used to look and say, man, I got buddies in trucking and stuff. And from everybody that I know that own businesses, I feel like good help is hard to find sometimes.
100%.
And so when grown people call off like, man, I'm helping you provide for your family, but some people don't want to work.
It's crazy. Yeah.
And guess who got to pull up their bootstraps and do it? You know, so.
Yeah, you're right.
Is there a process that you kind of started to implement to, there's never a perfect way, but is there a different process you implemented to try to make sure you hire reliable people? Yeah,
so I went through a guy that we know in the group, and he threw out created me this Indeed kind of like thing where, hey, we hiring, and he drew up the stuff. And so what I started doing was basically, people... Well, I would interview, and I wasn't really interviewing like that at first because I'm like, you good?
Come on, let's go.
So it was like, now I'm asking just questions, and and amazingly, I had to ask adults, do you have reliable transportation? Which was a dumb question because we see that all the time. Right. But that matters, right? So that, and then I would meet up with them first. Then I do a walkthrough. Now that's always time consuming, but it was like, when we done, is this something you feel like you can do for this amount of money?
Yeah, that's key. I
had to start doing that, but I wasn't doing that in the beginning, right?
And so a person will just start and realize, like, man, I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, or they like, man, this easy, okay. And then they get it. I've had guys that showed up and then they worked that day, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, it was good. And then I ain't hear from them again.
It disappeared.
They're supposed to be there tomorrow.
They don't even care about getting that one day of pay.
Man, that's a dude I ain't even paid to this day. He just won't answer the phone. So yeah, bro, it's crazy. So I had to change that process and go with experience just in my realm of people that's been cleaning for a long time and know what they're doing. So that's, definitely you have to do that. And run it like a business.
Yeah, that's true. And when you say running like a business, man, I one of the things I noticed, and I'm going to speak for our community because that's where I'm from. when people start to make money with their business, it's like commingling. Like I feel like certain business people, when they start making some money, okay, they go get the car, they go get the house with the business money instead of just leaving that, feeding the business until the business can grow.
Man, it's deep.
And I don't understand that.
We have a system, man. We have an accountant, CPA. I run the books, and then so at the end of the year, I give them the file. I give them the file, and they look at, okay, boom, here's what, you know what I mean? This is what y'all paid out. This is we have a couple of business accounts, but it's like we run everything by the books, like you said. And what we do is when money comes in, we keep it in to funnel, because you still got payroll the next week. Yesterday, I text my partner and said, hey, I just spent XYZ on some shirts for some staff downtown, right? What you never want to be able to do or be in a situation of not being able to pay your folk,
that's
or
tough.
your creditors. So what you just said is key, because you gotta keep it separate. But unfortunately, what we do is when we look at our financial situation, and then like you said, you commingle. I look at it like I can't take nothing out without asking him, and vice versa. And I'm like, hey, this is so he knows everything. We have a shareable Excels, we have shareable Google Docs, we have shareable everything where he can
everything is so transparent.
There we go. Because he's always just be like, man, I trust you. It's business. You trust me, and I'm glad of that. But I want you to see everything.
And so that's important, so that you kind of have those checks and balances, because, I mean, at times you may have to borrow from your business, right?
Right.
As long as you borrowing from yourself and you'll pay yourself back, maybe with a little extra interest.
Absolutely.
But it's still you and your entity that you created. So.
Absolutely. And you keep documentation or notations of what you took out, the date and this, that, the third. And as you're paying it back, you deduct. Everything is going to be business, because, you're still going to have taxes.
Yeah, you're still going to have taxes.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Tell me, has there been anything crazy, like, as a realtor, I've walked in houses, and I got a segment that just talks about all the crazy things I've seen. Have you ever maybe walked into an office that you had to clean up and saw, like, somebody staying there doing some extracurricular activity, or anything crazy where you was like, oh man, I'm gonna act like I didn't see that?
The craziest stuff has been in bathrooms. You know what I'm saying? So you walk in,
I can imagine.
You walk in there, and I'm like, this came out of somebody. So or my folks hit me and they like, yo, we need like a real plunger. And you like, and you thinking like, okay, they left that in there, but ain't no toilet paper in there.
How'd that work?
My dog is the only one that I know how that work. So yeah, that's been some of the.
You might have seen a pair of underwear in the garbage.
Know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's been like the extent, but we've worked with other people, because we work with partners, and it's been people that's been reeking of either alcohol or whatever, because a lot of people they take right off the streets. So you always got to take pride in what you do. But yeah, that's some of the crazy stuff that I've seen is mainly related, since we're cleaning, to a bathroom, or a janitor's closet. Yeah.
Hey man, I mean, like, you started off business with partners, and now you have a partner. So like, I think that's something you can really teach people that's valuable. Yeah. Would you be open to taking on more partners if it meant like you could scale up your business?
Absolutely. We've me and my partners talked about that, and we've had people to approach us. But you want to be selective, but you also want to be cognizant of not being greedy to just take on someone's money and they're not getting a proper return on it. But then that also kind of comes off on the other end, is you can be selfish because they like, oh, you don't want to get in. But it's like, no, I want to make sure you good, because it may take a while for your return. So yeah, it's just about making sure you know what I'm saying?
People have to understand that too. Like, it's not like instant gratification.
Absolutely.
It could take it took me 5 years to build my business.
Absolutely.
So it could take you 5 years before you get the first return.
Absolutely. But people say okay in the beginning.
Yeah.
And but then over time it's like, nah, I need that back, or I need, and you know what I mean? And those funds have been allocated for it. So you definitely have to be careful, make sure you have, like, we're on the LLC together and things of that nature. Make sure you have documentation. Yeah.
I got a call the other day and it was a guy saying, "Hey, Andre, I see you have like an off-market property and I want to get into fix and flipping. Like, I got X amount of money. Can I partner with you? Can we do it?" And I was just kind of hesitant because, again, like, I want to be able to sleep at night. And I'm the type of person, if I put my neck out on the line for other people, like, I want to make sure it comes out right.
Right.
And I just want him to understand that, man, I mean, that's cute. You got some money to do this, but, like, this is a tough game.
Absolutely.
And it may not come out the way that you wanted to. And you're my friend. And so if you don't know how to take off the friendship hat and then put on the business hat and then take that off and be able to go sit down and have a beer with me, I don't know if we should do this right now. So
smart thinking. Smart thinking, because most people, they can't separate that. One of the contracts that we have is to a friend. What I appreciate is that's what you do. It's about your network, right? And he's the COO of the organization, and so, but I always keep it like I report to him like I do FC Stadium, right? Because it's like, he's got a job to do. He hired us, and I don't want to make you look bad. But at the same time, let me know where, our flaws are, or whatever, and I'm going to fix it. I don't complain. I'm like, all right, we got you. Because we don't want to have any issues over here at this, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's, and then when I see him, I may see him at the cigar shop here and there. And we chop it up, right? But it's, because my rule is that, money, there's certain things that won't come in between, a true friendship. Yeah, exactly. So money, relationships, stuff like that won't come in. And you got to have that, like you said, that hat.
Yeah, you got to have that. You got to know, like, hey, we're in the boardroom right now, so let's talk about these numbers, these figures.
Correct.
And then when we outside of the boardroom, we could talk about sports, anything else. Like, I don't even really want to talk about business too much with
Absolutely.
you like that.
Absolutely.
Because then that's just going to be the gist of our whole relationship.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Good, man. Well, I mean, I like this for the people that, if you had one message to give to anybody that, you look at a younger you or another version of you that was trying to do the exact same business, what kind of advice could you give them?
For one, follow your dreams. You get one shot. I tell people, man, you get one shot at this, at life. Follow your dreams. If it's an ideal that you got, investigate it, research it. The times that you're spending on social media or partying, kind of start divulging some of that time into what it is on the goals that you have. That's what I would tell the younger me. Follow it through and don't be afraid to fail.
That's key.
When you look at the billionaires out here, they failed. Now I'd rather work with somebody that's failed before, because they know what it's like. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You ain't never met nobody in Vegas that always won. You never.
For real.
So, I'd say that, be open to taking in information from other people, and never judge a book by its character. That's one thing I love about Austin. You could be walking around and there's a millionaire in flip-flops, and you like, you don't know, right? And so for me, I had to learn that. So that's the one piece. But definitely follow your dreams, but also put something in your train of thought that you can live by. Like I said earlier, never put anything off today that you can do tomorrow that you can do today. Because it truly is never promised, but there's a thing called deadlines. I've missed deadlines before with grants. They like, oh, last week. I'm like, So if I would have did it, you know what I mean? Make notations, journal every day. I go everywhere with this calendar. I write everything down, right? And so with that, when you write it down, when you think about it, when you say it, it's just more where you're going to do it. So that's what I would tell the younger me or the person out there, but also find some areas where you got peace, where you go have a cigar and just chill. Yeah. And also you're able to think, you know what I mean, with coffee or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, so yeah. Or like when we meet at Mark's house or whatever, and it's like a meeting of the minds, right? That's monumental. So that's what we have to do more of, I think. And if you're somebody that's trying to, you have a vision or whatever. So, that's what I would say, man.
That is so key, man. To kind of put it in perspective, you're right. Like, have somebody mentor, somebody to talk to. Yeah. Follow your goals. Don't be afraid to fail. But the key thing is take some time away from that. Do something you enjoy. Like you said, sit and puff some cigars. Yeah. Talk with some people that you like being around. Like you do have to find that solace. And sometimes that's when the best ideas come, when you just kind of like, I'm about to turn off the business mind, relax, and then next thing you know, you're like, oh, okay, I got some clarity now, some stuff that I was dealing with, I can tackle it.
Yeah, you said a word. And that's how CDC started. We were having cigars, my boy's man cave, and he like, man, well, he had the whole layout, and he asked, about 10 of us there, I'm like, yeah, And he was like, all right, you see it? I'm like, yeah. And every week I'm like, yo, what's up with that?
The next step.
And he's like, man, okay, we're going to meet. I'm like, yo. And then he was like, all right, you serious? And nobody else out of the group said anything, which is fine. But I was like, yo. And he was like, man, you sure? I was like, man, I never know if I don't try.
I like that.
And so we just, boom, he was like, all right, LLC, we got to file for this. We got to do this. And it was he had a checklist. And then we business plan. And then we paid for that. And then it's like, yo, so you know what I mean? Right. That's how, if I wasn't there that day, or if I put it off, kept putting it off, somebody else would be in the spot.
Or if it was like 10 people in the room, and sometimes you might be afraid to raise your hand because
even better.
Nobody else is
even
doing
better. So I was like, I don't give a damn. Yo, I want to do it. He's like, yeah. And that's what it was. And, so one of my biggest compliments was him saying once out, like, I couldn't pick a better partner. So that meant more than the money, because it's like, you seen some in me, but I also seen some in him, which kind of make our magic work.
It's about being a leader, man. And just going back to the 10 to 1, and you was the one that's like, hey, I'm gonna be a leader. I'm gonna raise my hand because I don't care what nobody think. This is what I see an opportunity at.
Right. But you got to do that in business too, right? Yeah. You can't care what nobody thinks because that'll hold you back.
Even your family, man.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just, I have a set of principles with like how I deal with stuff in my business and my business finances.
Right.
And I always tell people like, hey, I got my principles, I got a budget, I got it set, and I can't break it for nobody.
Right.
I can't. If I start breaking it for you, then I'm breaking it. And then my whole foundation is going to fumble.
Absolutely.
It's just going to break down. So,
But
definitely.
you got to have that. And that even more than what we talked about now, that's what you just said is a big piece of advice.
But people don't like you sometimes when you have to show them and flex like, hey, it's nothing personal, but I just got, this is a part of my success. I can't compromise it right now.
Absolutely. And I always tell people when, with all of the moguls, do you think they got there by saying yes all the time? They haven't. Nah. They had to make hard decisions. Yeah. But that's what it is. And so if you, not saying that that's where you have to be, but we should always have goals. And, somebody always say, why shoot, for the stars or whatever, land on the moon, right? Yeah. And things like that. But it's crazy. So that's the thing. Just keep shooting. You never really, and make it your passion. Because when it's your passion, then you care a little bit less about the money, but it also is a stress level too. So because when you're thinking about that money, that stress level high.
It's high. And sometimes thinking about the money, I don't know. I try not to make my business about the money. Obviously, we want to make money and have that freedom. Right. But if you think looking at every business opportunity, like, oh, I'm starting to calculate, I can make this, you might fail. Like if it's, I'd rather, when I envision like myself and my success, I'm shaking a lot of hands, seeing a lot of smiles. I'm making a lot of people happy.
Right.
And if I'm doing that, the money shouldn't be a problem. It should be an after effect of I'm straight on that part.
And then it's going to come though. That's that's the one thing and people can't see, but it definitely will come, because now the work you putting in, it's like, all right, you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But you early when you said, you know, when you came to, should I do something else? See, that was a lot of the money talking too. Like you at work, you're like, I ain't getting paid for this.
Right.
Well, I ain't getting paid enough, right? Because you know what I'm saying. But when you truly love what you do, it ain't work.
It ain't work.
And that's why my wife tell me all the time, you work. If I gotta work every day, that's what I gotta do. Yeah. But I enjoy it though. That's the thing. I enjoy it, man.
That's key. Well, hey man, Burell, tell the people where they can find CDC, or if somebody out there wanted to use the services, what would they do?
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. We on social media, Facebook, Instagram. Our website is www.cdccleaningpro.com. On there, it's got our information. You can do quotes. You can reach out to us. And we're everywhere around town. So we're primarily in the commercial space. But again, we have a division where we sub out for homes and stuff. So we try to, and not only that, but we also spray. When I say spray, the fumigations as far as the fight, the COVID, and that was our original thing. So with that, I always like to say in all our posts, we can handle all of your cleaning services needs. So yeah, that's where you guys can find us. You can also, if you reach out, let them know where you found us. With Andre Key here. So yeah, man, I appreciate that. But we're grateful to be here today.
Man, well, hey, Mr. Allen, I appreciate you. To the listeners out there, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. And that's episode 3 of Bossing Up with Mr. Key. It's only getting better and better. I'd like to also give a shout out to Wes, our producer of the show, and his amazing facilities that he has. I'm privy to working in. And again, for all you out there, follow those dreams, push through it, find that passion, because that's when it's going to be truly rewarding. And episode 3 is over. It's a wrap.